Whenever we hear about charity, giving to those less fortunate, and aiding the developing world, one of the first things that you hear about is why it's just the right thing to do. The morality of giving. People speak about how it's just the correct thing to do, and that we have a responsibility to help others that are not in a position to do so themselves. Furthermore, there's a great satisfaction yielded by giving, and it's been programmed into humans, and it's derived from evolutionary biology. Whenever humans worked together in the past, they tended to survive more. And so many humans alive today feel a great sense of belonging and genuine happiness when helping those less fortunate, as well as those around them, because that's what helped them survive in the past. But nowadays, there's a lot more people who simply don't feel that way. Many people believe that they're not responsible for helping others and only try to look after themselves and the people around them that they care about. And even though this sounds somewhat heartless, it's a completely understandable train of thought, or so I used to think, until I realized that the more we help the developing world, the easier it is for us as a civilization as a whole to progress. That's because the reality of our civilization is a lot less simple than the zero-sum world that we all used to live in. In the past, if we wanted to maximize our own benefits and welfare, the only way that we could do so was to take it from other people. Regardless of how it was distributed, there was a fixed volume of production that we could not exceed. If I wanted to grow more crops so that I could eat more and feed my family more, then I had to take some of your land and start growing my crops there. But this hasn't been the case in quite some time. As we progress further and further with our technological advancements, this cap or maximum output was shifted to greater and greater extremes, which meant that we could make more and more money. While in the past, we had a fixed loaf of bread that could only be split so many ways, nowadays, by increasing the size of this metaphorical loaf of bread, we can generate more and more wealth, which in turn benefits our own lives. In order to take this out of the abstract, I want you to imagine a world in which all of the developing nations in the world are completely developed. The implications for this are that everyone, yourself included, has a higher quality of life. There is a genuinely selfish argument for why you should want the world to be a better place. As economic principles dictate, as the quantity and quality of factors of production increase, i.e. the more workers can work on developing new technologies, the supply of the product increases, which decreases the price. And even on a more fundamental level, as there's more money being pumped into research and development, there's a greater chance that progress will be made. The common example used when describing this phenomenon is asking the question, what if the cure for cancer was in the head of an underprivileged child who never got the opportunity to bring these ideas to fruition? And whilst this is true, and this is a good way of looking at it, there's a much less ambiguous and, I suppose, chance-based way of seeing this concept. And that is that the amount of funding received for the development of such cures would be greatly increased, as more people are in a position to develop to worry about the issue. Nobody worries about dying of cancer when they're not sure where their next meal is going to come from. But if they get to the same stage in development where we are in the developed world currently, this could all change. And this is the fundamental principle of innovation: supply and demand. As there are more people in a position to demand goods, which until recently were the least of their worries, the more the supply will need it. The more people who have the freedom and, very importantly, education to become doctors, engineers, and quite frankly, thinkers. And as they then become richer and richer, they have more money to spend on things that in turn fuel development further. It's not just a self-sufficient but perpetually expanding global economy, which benefits all of us, as it gives them more tools to help us. Improving the lives of those who have the least in the world aids them as well, because it gives them the tools to begin their own innovation, contributing to the well-being of all of our lives. They increase the demand for their idea while simultaneously allowing more and more people to develop solutions to these ideas. The very core of this argument boils down to one simple idea. The more people in this world want the same thing that you want, the more likely you are that it gets developed. Even though it's a very simple principle to wrap your head around, it's something that very few people actually give sufficient thought to when thinking about giving to causes, myself included. It wasn't until recently that I started caring about giving to the less fortunate and understanding the utility and importance of helping those who have less than me. I remember back in junior school, dreading the idea of helping those around me, and I thought it was relatively tedious and pointless, right? But then as I began to grow, I started to realize how good it felt to give to others. I genuinely felt happiness whenever I helped those around me, as well as why certain people need aid due to reasons out of their control. But that alone wasn't enough to convince me to go out of my way to help people. All that did was make me realize that I should do whatever the minimum CAS requirement for that year was, because otherwise, one, I would fail, and two, it felt good to give, right? But as I go into my 13th year at a school that places a very heavy value on the importance of giving, I realized that there's more to giving than just helping others. There's economic principles that dictate that I should help you because it helps me. So I ask you to join me in making the world a better place and helping ourselves. And the next time someone asks you to donate to a charitable cause, aiding the less fortunate, ask not what you can do for them, but what they can do for you. Thank you.
Yo, thank you so much, Vedant. Let's also give another round of applause because I think that was pretty good, right?